Hello and welcome back. Today we're going to be doing some, well, we're not really going to be doing much of anything. I'm just going to be commentating over a couple of replays I got from this current season as of the time of this recording with the Ashen deck. The build is in the previous Ashen video that I've made up on the channel. You can go check that out if you're interested. But I've got a couple interesting replays, some goofy things that happen, ways to play the deck, all that. So we win the coin flip, we go first, and I instantly go into the Awakening. Usually Priestess and Vados is full combo already. You just normal summon the Priestess, and then you search for the Obsidian, and then you just do the combo. And then you use the Awakening. I usually set the Awakening and use it on my opponent's turn, because if they're playing a field spell deck, it's just like a disruption on top of follow-up play / combo. But I decided I was like, if I summon this priestess, she gets hit with an imperm, I'm gonna feel kind of bad because I have to use this anyway, and then I lose out on the search. So I was like, all right, I'll just use it. I don't usually do that. So this guy on my special, this is an inherent summon, so it doesn't start a chain. So he sees this get special, and he's like, oh shit, he might have more. Drops the max C. We chain our Vados to get our trap, and then on resolution we get a field spell. And we're sitting kind of nice. We don't summon off the Obsidian because we don't want them getting a draw anyway. And we draw into Priestess, which is cool. We have follow up now. So what we're looking at here is we have Vados and one Ashen monster as set up for a fusion monster. Down here, set up for a big Vados or a fusion Vados. And we have Vados in hand and the field spell. So we can, during our opponent's turn, we can pop it, summon the Vados, summon from the deck, and we can just have a bunch of materials on field. And we can summon our third priestess, get a search. We're looking really nice. This guy goes right into emergency. He's playing Drytrons. Drytrons is a pretty scary deck with that ritual stuff with that new ritual stuff that they got in Master Duel. They have I think it's like a twice per turn monster negate, and their exceeds can now negate spells and traps since you have a reliable machine ritual on field. It's a pretty scary, competent deck. It's a really hard monster to out. It's a bunch of attack. I think it has protection as well. I could be wrong. So yeah, they summon the Exceed, and this guy has 18,000 effects. So I dropped the Moonlit Chill on him, and he chains with a Herald of Orange Light. And I'm like, well, this isn't looking too good. He just searched this Diviner of the Herald, so I guess we got that out of his hand because Drytron doesn't really use their normal summon. So now that his normal summon's gone, we're sitting kind of nice right now. So he goes into some more Drytron stuff. He draws a card, and this is looking like a good time to pop the field. We want to get all this stuff out the way. He's got a bunch of Drytrons floating into. He's used some Drytron's effects. He's drawn a couple of cards, but he hasn't done much of anything. And then he normal summons the Ava. So I'm like, this guy drew the Ava off of that one Drytron that draws a card. And I was like, that's so unfortunate. Now with Herald of the Orange Light, it wasn't the full depth of what it could be. But he searches for a Diviner and another Herald. And we're looking really nice. He's got a 0 attack monster. We've got tons of follow up. We've got a search. We've got an add back with the Eternity. We drew the called by for turn, and that was that. Even if we didn't have the called by, we were still sitting extremely nice. Alright, now we're on to our second replay. Now this one's a pretty goofy game. I wanted to include it just because it was really nice. We open up no hand traps, and this is this hand is it's so good, but it's so bad. So we open up double talents, which is really good. This guy's he's just doing Cyburst, Math Mech combo in the background. We're not even bothered by it. It's whatever, man. We win. If we win, we win. We lose, we lose. It is what it is. This deck is kind of insane. It's pretty annoying. If they full combo you kind of just lose. And we've got some neat stuff. We can combo. We can try and clear their board. We can try and clear their hand. We get a couple of cool things going on here. And this guy just, I've never even seen them go this far. I've never seen the Dark Fluid plus Singularity plus Heat Soul. I've never seen all this. Plus the Mathmech trap card. So we draw for turn, and it's Effect Veiler. It's like, man, beautiful. This guy draws another card. They always draw Max C off of this. They never don't have Max C. So, on the Factorial, I banished the circular. I should have banished the diameter, but it didn't really matter. It doesn't resolve. And this guy sends Aggregator to negate our field spell, so that his monsters are no longer Cyberse. Which is a pretty decent move, I guess. And let me slow this down a little bit. So we activate the tactics, and he negates the activation with the D-Save Worm. He doesn't have like any other disruptions going on that, or at least nothing in the hand that really matters. And then out of nowhere he bounces our Priestess, which I guess is his way of like playing around Typhon. Super late if he is, but he plays around the Typhon, I guess. But because he negated the activation, we can activate our talents again. Our second talents, I should say. We take this guy, and because he's our monster, we can send this. And then we can send a Cyberse, and he's much more attack than the Decode, and we just attack over for game. Dude was not expecting to lose that way. I know this wasn't exactly a Ashened showcase, because he negated all the Ashened cards, but I found this to be a really interesting replay anyway. Alright, now here we have a third replay, and this one, as you can see by our hand, things are not looking good, man. So he sends Lurie to summon Diabellstar. When Diabellstar comes down, nothing good's going on. So I always stop Diabellstar. So I drop the Mortar, because if it leaves, they take 25, which is pretty neat. And then he triple attacks, and looks at our hand. So he's going to see 2 Effect Veilers, King, who's not doing anything, and a Vados. Which, like, if he's playing like Snake Eyes or something, you know, their field spell's not safe. So, you know, this is a weird hand to look at. So he shuffles back the Vados, sets 1, passes. And we draw the damn Obsidian. And I was like, bro, there's no way this guy had the foresight to see that coming. So I activate the Obsidian, and I just drop the King. Diabellstar is too low of attack to even, like, summon anything, so... But not high enough to get over our King. So this guy knows I have 2 Veilers. So he goes into Snake Eye Ash, and I just drop the Veiler on it. There's no point. No point waiting around for this. Now luckily, he's going into Moon, the Closed Heaven. And luckily, full Fiendsmith combo isn't on here because Lacrima isn't here. So he can't exactly do like the whole thing. We also have a Veiler in case of anything, so we're chilling pretty tight right now. So he activates this to send this, and I'm like, I kind of want to keep the King. Because depending on what we draw, we can get things moving here. So, top deck, it's a Ghost Bell. She's technically pretty good against the Fiendsmith combo. But we go into Dark, the Dark Charmer, and we summon back Diabellstar. Unfortunately, we have no search for Diabellstar, but what we do have is we can crash Dark into... This is why I saved the replay, because this obviously isn't like the best duel. But this is just a cool little neat thing, because I do play Dark for a reason. So when he's destroyed by battle or your opponent's card effect, you can add a Dark monster with 15 or less defense. It's who's 15 or less defense? Vados. So it's like Priestess and like almost everything else, but mainly Vados. And then we get over the Fiendsmith, and we use our Vados, pop the field spell, set our Ashened Endlessness. We're looking pretty nice. And all of a sudden he just has an Ash Blossom, and I was like, that's such a... Like, obviously he couldn't Ash the Dark, because that happens in damage step. You can Ash in the damage step, because she negates effects, not activation. But, like, technically he could have negated the Vados, but I would have just done it again the next turn. But it was still like it was still just out of nowhere. So he ashes the field spell, and then I just go, man, I don't want this guy doing anything weird with my Vados. So I just bounce the summon Typhon, bounce the Vados to my hand, and then then I'm like, alright, we're just gonna see where this goes. And he just scoops. He just top deck scoops. We likely would have just been in the top decking scenario for a couple of turns, but he did have some Fiendsmith cards in the deck, in the graveyard. So like, he probably would have been alright with that. He could have just sent this, but he just didn't want to deal with it. Alright. Now this is a really fun duel. This guy's got a 60 card deck, and we don't have the best of hands. And he opens up crazy with Dragon Link. He Chaos Spaces to send Apsarouter, search for Lubellion. He's got the Lubellion package down. He's got the rocket stuff down. He's got so much in hand. It's just like so much to deal with right now, right? So he goes into his Lubellion. He has a really long turn. I thought he was going to deck out. So he sends the Branded Regain. He puts face up the Branded Beast. So this is really not looking good because he's going to have the Recursion every turn. He's going to have the Pop every turn. There's a lot going on. And we have nothing to stop him. We drew every Garnet in the world possible. But, you know, and sometimes you just gotta keep the fight going. Sometimes you just gotta see how far you can go, right? You know, like Rocky against Apollo Creed. It's not about winning, it's about going the round sometimes. And it's also, I really like Dragon Link, so it's also fun to see. It's fun to see Dragon Link, you know, play. I really like watching it, playing against it, playing it. It's a great deck. But this guy's playing 60 cards, and when I looked at his deck, I was like, of course this guy like saw none of his bricks. He just saw like every perfect card that was usable. But yeah, he's going in. He's really going in. The Lindorus into the Rocket, summoning back. He's just having a great time. He's got a bunch of banished for whatever banished he needs. And he drops a Dispatter. Dispatter is like one of the worst things about Dragon Link is that we can't like use away their board. We have to be very like mindful because they have such like huge monsters and monsters with no levels. So it's very tricky. So right now he's got a negate or destroy. Both of them really hurt. Like both of those on Vados, it hurts. He's got Borland Dragon, and then he summons a Verte, and he's like, I'm like, damn, he summoned a Verte and he's still doing stuff. He's gonna have all this and a Dragoon, and then he ends turn, and I'm like, did you run out of time? What happened? And I was like, oh, maybe he just had the Red Eyes Fusion in hand. He just forgot. Like I really couldn't tell you. I don't know. And I feel like he could have had a Warlord Savage Dragon on top of this, but he doesn't. So we chicken game, draw a card, draw Extinguishing. Extinguishing's nice. Try to bait out any hand traps. And then we drop the Awakening of Vados. Now, because we use those, we have no access to our Typhon. We can't Typhon any of this. Not that Typhon would be good in this situation. It'd be really bad. But, you know, just to be clear, like, we just unfortunately don't have them. So I do some like crazy plays. I like fuse everything into this big Vados because I'm like, oh, I got no banished monsters. He changed this, and I'm like, oh, he's gonna try and destroy it. He's an idiot. But I just completely forgot he's any banished card, so I was able to negate it. And I really want to clear this back row. And out of nowhere, he goes into a Little Knight. And there's not much going on, and then he banishes the opposite him, and I'm like, hell yeah. So that puts us in another neat spot. So this Little Knight I really want to get rid of. So check this out. So on Obsidian's Banish, we summon Priestess. We use Priestess to search. And then he chains Little Knight, targeting itself and the Priestess. And I'm like, I gotta out this Little Knight. It's too annoying. And if I try to fuse on his turn, he can just banish my Vados and fizzle out. So we have to remove this Little Knight. So I chain the Vados, sending the Priestess, attempting to pop this, but it was summoned off of IP, so it doesn't get popped. But because I sent the Priestess, it doesn't banish both of them, so it doesn't leave. And I'm like, well, this is great. And then here's another layer of interaction. This duel had so much going on. Because I activated Obsidian, these all became Pyros. Now he has no dragons to tribute for this. I didn't realize that on my turn though. I was like, man, he's gonna pop any one of these. I'm so worried. He's gonna pop the field spell. Anything he pops is like so bad right now. So I attack over the Little Knight, and I completely forgot about the rocket. So he brings back Darkness Metal. I'm like, crap, there's another big ass monster that I can't fuse with. So we go right into his phase, and he activates this to summon back his Delindrous. And so he chains. So I activate this to bait out his Branded Beast, and then he chains it, and I'm like, yes, he fell for it. I couldn't even fuse, so I just flipped the card face up, hoping to bait him. And then he targets the Eternity, and I'm like, no way, this guy's like, I don't know if he's like the smartest man alive or the dumbest. That was just so out of nowhere, because there's no reason to even, if you thought I was gonna fuse, you should have just popped this. But I couldn't fuse, so you should have just left it alone. So out of nowhere, he just targets this. And I'm like, all right, well, I gotta bait some stuff out. So I send that because it's very important that it's engraved to pop that. And then I was like, oh damn it, he banished this off the Little Knight, so it came up. It actually came up. And then I chained this because it's actually very important that we get this Vados back. We really need it. And he's used his disruptions. He used most of his disruptions. He hasn't used this Borland, but that doesn't matter because he has to like target and negate a face-up monster in the field. So we're chilling. So he summons the monster, right? And I'm like, oh shit, I'm too late. Like he has full zones, and he could have just switched to attack, and I think that would have been game or near game or just really really bad. And then he just doesn't, and he links it off, and I'm like, oh man, like that's a really tricky spot. So I get greedy, and I'm like, I'm gonna wait for him to activate this, and I'm gonna chain Vados. He sends Dark Magician, and I'm like, why the hell does this guy send Dark Magician? I realized later he's playing Magical Eyes Fusion, and he didn't go into this last turn, which is why he couldn't summon Dragoon off the Predaplant. So it all made sense, but I didn't think about that. I'm thinking he has Red Eyes Fusion in his hand, or he has Red Eyes in his hand, and he just sends it from the deck just so he doesn't draw it, or he's gonna banish it off of Regain. Like I didn't know what he was planning, but I was like, that's a weird ass send. So I chained Vados to take up the last spot, and then he chains Baldrake, and he targets the king. So I chained the Ashened Endlessness and banish my king, so that neither one of these monsters gets summoned. I dropped the Vados on his field, and Vados has nothing to set, unfortunately, because we saw them all, and he gets a free draw and everything, like the whole shebang. So I'm like, all right, well, I gotta drop this here. Like he's got too much going on. So I fuse the Borland because he's just way too big of a threat. Can't be destroyed by card effects. And so he's gonna summon Chainlink 1, Chainlink 2. I'm gonna search. Chainlink 3. I'm gonna add back Chicken Game, and then Chainlink 4. Vados destroys all monsters in the field, except for our Vados, of course, because he can't be destroyed by card effects. So we get rid of his entire board. He's got a full hand. We know one of them is Baldrake. Also, I don't know if you guys noticed, but this got sent to grave because it couldn't summon. Very weird. He summons this. He adds back the Disbatter, and I'm like, all right. With the tools we have, this could be game. He's got a lot of back row. He's got a lot going on, and I go right into the Chicken Game. I draw a card, try and draw something nice. We draw a Bonfire, and I'm like, that is unreasonably lit. So I summoned the Volcanic Emperor that we sent to grave last turn, and he's gonna get a free draw from it, and he's gonna affect Valeros. And I'm like, damn, that burn would have actually come in real clutch. And so I'm like, all right, well, whatever. So we drop an Obsidian, and now this is Pyro, so we can't use the Branded Beast on it. We summon our Priestess to search, and he has another Effect Veiler. And I'm like, this guy's been drawing so much that he's just has so many cards in hand at all times. I think he's got like a Rocket Caliber. He's got a Baldrake in hand that we know of, and whatever the hell else he has. So I search for. So here's a really weird play. I was like, well, I can't risk him having some crazy stuff, and I have to push for game now. Like, if I extinguishing and send Vados and try and fuse, like if I Vados and I pop this, and then he pops our endlessness while this isn't all in the field and this isn't a pyro, then like they just have a Vados on their field, and like we're just in a really weird spot. Like, yeah, we could summon this off of the Obsidian and then pop it, but like we're still in a pretty weird spot. So I send the hero off of the extinguishing, then add it back, and then I activate target to pop, and he's got another hand trap, and he infinite impermanences on the hero, and I'm like, well, hell no, man, I'm a genius. So I send the hero off of Vados to pop the imperm, and then he has a Called by the Grave as well. And this Called by the Grave is so weird, because I'm like, he had a Called by the Grave, and like I played into the Called by the Grave because I didn't expect it to happen, because he said it last turn. He had it last turn. Like he didn't Called by the Grave on the Vados to prevent his field from getting popped. And so I was like, all right, well, he just didn't Call by the Grave it, and it turned out to work out very well, because now we're really low on damage, and we're very short of the OTK, and we don't really have any disruptions either. So that guy gets banished, and that imperm's gone. So now I'm like, all right, well, this guy's still a pyro, so I'm gonna fuse these two into embers, and then embers is gonna add back chicken game, just because there's not really much else of a point. So we attack, and then attack again, and then we attack, and then he ball drakes to chump block, and I'm like, crap, I forgot all about that. I completely forgot about that. I don't activate the chicken game because we're getting the draw off of this anyway. We draw into triple attack, and it's like, man, that's not gonna help at all. So what's funny is that if we chicken gamed, actually, even if we chicken gamed, it wouldn't have helped because he didn't activate any. No, he effect veilered. So we actually could have triple attacked. We could have like drew 2 or something, and we would have had chicken game and whatever 2 cards we drew off the triple attack. But but then our opponent would have had the chicken game if we didn't draw anything. So it was just a call I made, and it turned out to be the wrong call. A couple of the calls I made turned out to be the wrong call because of how weird this guy played. So he starts summoning it. He keeps like summoning into the burn of Emperor, and it's looking real close. And I'm like, all right, well, if he just attacks, then I'm fine. But no, he just keeps going and going, and he summons a Striker Dragon, and I'm like, uh-oh, this is looking like the end. He brings back the Rocket Recharger, discards it, targets the Striker Dragon, brings back Big Bad Boy Boral End Dragon, and then he negates our Emperor at 1200, and he pushes us for game. And everything that he did was like absolutely perfect every time. Like you can't make a bad call when you have two effect veilers and an imperm. Like, he just negated every single thing, and like it all came up. Like every single thing he did like came up. He SP Little Knighted the Obsidian, and it gave him a banish. Even though it helped me, it gave him a banish for later. It put a banish card in my banish zone for his Disbatter to use later. Like, everything that happened was just so weird, but it all worked out perfectly. Like, I really don't know if this guy's a genius or he doesn't know what's going on or what. But yeah, he attacks for game, and then that's that. But even so, I thought it was a really good duel. I thought it was a great back and forth, especially with the opening hand we had. Like, no hand traps whatsoever. Yeah, even like off the draws and everything, like, we still had no hand traps. We played straight engine, and Emperor is like a big part of the engine though in this build. And we opened up 3 traps. Like, even if there was just 2 traps and like some other random engine piece, we could have had a free card off of the Vados when we summoned him, but we didn't even get that. Like, that's how bad it was. But it was a great duel. I hope I hope these replays taught you guys how to play the deck and try and disrupt your opponents. Because obviously a lot of this comes down to the deck you're playing against. Like, you always have to know when to hand trap and stuff like that. But the big part about this deck is you have to know when to fuse, to when to dark hole your opponent. Essentially, you're dark holing them on their turn, so you have to do it, at the right time. You have to do it before they link away your Vados. You have to be very careful with Fiendsmith. They link away your Vados into a closed heaven. Shit gets very awkward. And if you can really get use out of fusion Vados is Harpy's Feather Duster effect. Like man, that's really good. Like sometimes they just have like continuous stuff like this. Like if that fusion effect went off, man, like we wouldn't have had to deal with these guys. We wouldn't have to worry about it. He wouldn't have been drawing as much. But it is. So yeah, here's a little refresher. Here's the deck. I got a little new tech for you guys. How's this guy a Fire King? Because he's fire. It's pretty random. This guy's a pretty decent monster. So King, Volcanic Emperor, and Embers are all level 8. So you can make this rank 8 man. And when he's Exceed Summon, you can destroy all other monsters in the field, which is great because you're probably gonna summon him while you have this guy on the field, and he's not gonna care. You summon this guy, and you just clear the board again. But obviously, this deck clears the board already. But this guy, it's like an ignition. It's like whenever we want, because this guy, we gotta do mad work to clear the board. We gotta summon a hero. We gotta attack over him. Like there's too much going on. But this guy does it already. And then he has an effect. You can detach one and then pop a spell trap on the field, and he gains attack, which is great. So we have a rank 8 Pyro that destroys all monsters on the field and pops a spell trap. And then when this guy's destroyed, because he destroys all other monsters, so he's fine of his own will. But if we Vados while he's on the field, you can special summon Fire King monsters from your graveyard up to the number of materials this card had. It doesn't exclude itself, so you can summon himself right back. You can attack into your opponent's Vados that you've given them, and then destroy all monsters, and then bring this guy back and attack again, which is really neat. I'm gonna put him in. I just don't have the UR dust. Like I'm really close, of course, but like, I probably cut like Tornado Dragon or something. Tornado Dragon like hardly ever comes up. Geonator Transverser is just the homie. I could never get rid of her. I'm also considering putting in the Fire Charmer, because you have Emperor and Banshee. So Fire Charmer might be nice. Maybe Fire Charmer and then like a Promethean Princess, and then the Buggeroth man, the Link 4. But that rarely ever comes up, and that they have to like ash you and stuff like that. So maybe. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the replays. I hope they were nice, interesting, informative, educational, and entertaining for the most part. Check out some of the other videos. Definitely look into some of the other builds and playstyles. I've made a couple of videos with the Ashened deck, so if you really want to learn the deck, definitely give it a shout, give it a check. Thank you guys so much for watching. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here.